everybody. Welcome to another Banyan Technologies Tire Tracks podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Scolas. With me today, I have Mode Global, not only one, but two of the key players over there. We've got Gene Welsh and Chase Smith. Hey, guys, welcome to the program. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having us today, Patrick. Long overdue, and we look forward to the conversation with you.
Yeah, you guys didn't have to get the same haircut as me, but I really appreciate all of us falling in line here. So it makes it easy. We're gonna make a lot of money on this shampoo and hair product advertising we do on the side here.
It's our own little version of Band of Brothers, so to speak. But
Bulb of Brothers, yeah.
There you go. Appreciate being with another gentleman that is physically challenged in this day and age.
That's right. Gene and Chase, if you want to give everybody a quick introduction of who you are, what your titles are, and what you're overviewing, and then also who's Mode Global, if someone hasn't heard of you guys that's listening or watching, and what are you doing?
Sure, great. So again, my name is Gene Welsh. I'm the Chief Transportation Officer here at Mode Global. Joined the enterprise in 2022. My responsibility as Chief Transportation Officer is for all of our product line offerings. So our OTR business, our intermodal business, our LTL and parcel platforms, our international air and ocean offerings, as well as really, making sure that we're making the right decisions for the front of the business as far as our technology offering.
It doesn't sound like you're busy at all.
No, at this point, I'm just waiting for emails to hit my inbox. So yeah. Yeah, so just a little bit about Mode Global. Again, had a terrific 2023 in spite of market challenges, right? We have a multi-brand operating platform, as you can see in our background. So Mode Global is the parent entity. We support our three wonderful operating brands, which is Avenger Logistics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, Mode Transportation, which is really born on the back of the intermodal business, and then Suntech TTS, which is a significant OTR business. And while, I highlighted kind of the genesis and the start of each one of those operating brands that sit under the global portfolio, they are all empowered and operate every brand that we support from a modal perspective. So that's a little bit about Mode Global. And I'll turn it over to Mr. Smith to introduce himself.
All right. What do you got, Chase?
Gene. Thanks, Gene. Appreciate that. Patrick, thanks again for having us and making the time here today. As Gene said, my name's Chase Smith, and I'm over our LTL and parcel solutions here at Mode Global. And I've been with the organization for about 3 years now. So joined in 2021. So again, thanks for having us today and looking forward to getting into some of the topics that you've prepared.
Yeah, no. And one of the things that's just recently happened, the Mode VPO, and I'll let you guys define what that is. And it's not the Vice President of Operations. It's it's an exciting piece of technology that with the Banyan technology that it's kind of working together. And I know around my office, there's a lot of excitement, and we've been seeing some of the data within it and just starting to scratch the surface of what that can do. So without me kind of spoiling it or butchering some of what the VPO is, tell me about that, because that's the newest, that's the most exciting thing we're talking about right now in here. Not that everything within freight and logistics isn't exciting, but that's the hot one for us.
Sure. So, our Mode VPO platform is a proprietary tool that we saw, a need, and I would offer directly driven out of some of the challenges through the pandemic years. How do we use data to manage our internal data sets in a better fashion? And then from that, how does that create value for our customer base?
And it started as an internal tool?
Yeah, it started as an internal tool, and then we've scaled it out to be a customer-facing product, and we've seen really great success. So again, in short, the VPO acronym stands for visibility, predictability, and optimization. Right, and at the end of the day, it affords Mode Global and our associated clients an opportunity to be far more proactive than reactive in nature. And again, I would offer the genesis was really some of the challenges that we all endured through those pandemic years. Right. The one rule that I would say resonates and always has for supply chain, no matter what mode of transport we're talking about, is fundamentally expect the unexpected. And then through the pandemic, that was exponentially pronounced. Right. We kind of threw any rule we thought we knew out the window through those years.
Yeah, it was whatever you could get, wherever you could get it. And that was the way to do it.
Correct. So again, when you think about on an annualized basis, the amount of transactions that run through our multi-brand platform, it was significant. So
Mhm.
then how do we take that transactional detail and then have it in a very intuitive and user-friendly UI that people can make informed decisions? So from an internal perspective, how do we use that to ensure we're maximizing backhaul versus headhaul synergies? How are we looking at opportunities to take OTR business and potentially convert it into intermodal? And that's been one of the biggest pieces, right? If you think about the ESG, and that being a core pillar of fundamentally every firm's strategy at this point, we can highlight through this user interface the carbon offset, right? So the CO2 offset when we comp intermodal and the OTR business.
And with that, I'm sure there's, like you said, it's greener, or you can at least see the offset of it. But generally, are there a lot of cost saving opportunities with moving intermodal, where generally or historically it's been an OTR movement, or it depends where you're at. What does that look like? Because I live a mostly OTR kind of background here, so intermodal is a little bit of a foreign to me. But I'm always curious to see where it could be used more and why it's not used in certain opportunities.
Yeah, so from a hard dollars perspective, the short answer is yes, right? And it really depends on the customer specific supply chain. There might not be lanes where there are ideal rail routes that would support a cost savings, right? Or you talk about multi-leg shipments and some of those challenges.
Yeah,
but for the most part, I would follow the 80-20 rule. So most of the analysis we've seen, the comp of the intermodal movement on a door-to-door basis versus the OTR movement on a door-to-door basis, there are hard dollar savings opportunities in the intermodal markets. The other piece there, when we get into, right, so from visibility, that network analysis is very impactful, at least for our internal use as well as our customer use, right? When we look at the upload and the results of the finding, it really is astonishing to me, in certain instances, very eye-opening for our customer base, right? So what are we doing in instances where they have their own private fleet and they might not have visibility to the appropriate head haul versus backhaul relationship there. Right. They might also be leaving dollars on the table, not keeping the containers or the actual physical assets in their supply chain, so street turning boxes and things of that nature.
So we're not only looking at outside assets, this is helping getting a better view of some of the internal assets that a customer might have and how to better use those within their process as well. Okay, that's interesting. And it's always crazy to me is that some of these technologies can bring visibility to your own, like, hey, what are you doing with that truck? I don't know, oh, but we know what you're doing with it or what you should be doing with it. So yeah, Chase, if you please.
Yeah, no, well, I think the key word there from Gene there was from a visibility perspective is it is quite enlightening, right? So you've got all this data, right? And so what the tool allows us to do is aggregate those data points to a level that's interpretable and actionable, right? So it's bringing visibility to the options that exist in terms of modal optimization and so forth, right? So being able to see where those opportunities exist across their supply chain. Again, to Gene's point, not every lane is going to be a good fit for an intermodal conversion and so forth, right? And then you've also got transitory things that come into play as well, right? Getting products to customers quicker, cheaper, faster is obviously something that everyone's focused on. But
you're still probably not going to move those expedited ones that you've got to move last second anyways. Yeah.
That's right. But it does show you, again, based off of your ability to come out and properly ingest this information and then, again, aggregate it back up to a level to where you can make those decisions versus being reactive to the need itself, right? So you understand why you're doing this, not just because you have a need that needs to be fulfilled, right? So you can be very proactive in how you source your carriers.
Is this something that's mostly used to, hey, we could have done better last quarter, let's look at it this way? Or is this also another way to kind of find savings in having carrier discussions as well with this data? Where's the ROI, not just from the, hey, there's a better process? Where's some of the soft or tertiary value to just being able to visualize and have an idea of what's out there and what the choices would be?
So across the customer base, Patrick, I would offer that significantly variable, right? So the initial intake, we've created a very user-friendly Excel ingestion, right, as the first step. Where it gets really exciting is where the customer data ends up being directly fed into the VPO platform through an FTP link, right? Okay. So then you have live data and the decision-making process can happen very, very fast.
So I'm not just looking at last quarter data. I'm looking at yesterday's to see how I'm going to rotate it today. Okay.
Correct. So if you take, right, as a smaller data set as the first pass, like say, again, dependent on the customer experience,
Sure.
look at one of their business units and see what that business unit's specific trades are, right? And then after that experience, expand it. So when you get to that FTP live feed environment, it's far more impactful in my view.
Absolutely.
And I mean, like, so what are you seeing? And I'm sure, like you said, it's going to be client to client. Are there any overarching trends with all of the data that you've been used both internally and as you've been handing it out? Is there, I mean, I'm sure there are some, but what are the noticeable ones, or what you're seeing that, hey, there's a big savings where these people could go to start using trains? Or is there any big, broad, sweeping trends that are coming out of all the data and the patterns that you're seeing with the VPO tool?
So a couple items here. I think the customer reaction to understand that they could convert traditional OTR into intermodal, or vice versa, right? Depending on the velocity of the need and the delivery to promise requirements for the customer, that has been very eye-opening, right?
Okay.
And to understand, hey, this is an available routing on the Class 1 railroad. Terrific. Let's execute and let's save some dollars. Let's reduce our carbon offset and things of that nature. But dependent on the other, right, the door swings both ways, so to speak. So, hey, we're moving on the rail and the transit shows this amount of days, when if we move it OTR, we could cut X amount of days off our carrying costs, so on and so forth. And that's the other piece on VPO, where we look at the rail schedules. That's the actual lift date. So that is pushed through all of our transactions on the intermodal segment, which is in excess of 300,000 on an annualized basis. So when you think about that, it's a better mousetrap for the actual rail transits versus the OTR transits.
Just to add to what Gene is stated here, another let's call it eye-opening trend that we're noticing here is around the emissions footprint itself, right? There's, again, being able to aggregate that information to not only show where there's opportunities to offset, but actually quantify what that footprint is, right? And so being able to do that in terms of you being able to understand how the overarching strategy supports multiple areas of the supply chain, having visibility into that footprint, and then also being able to lean into the optimization capabilities that allows you to reduce that is very, very significant, right?
And is that something that you guys are seeing with your customers? Because obviously I'm starting to see it with some of my clients, is the need to track the actual the carbon emissions. But across the board, are you seeing more and more buy-in for offsetting, or is it still just kind of towing the water to know what's actually being moved and how much it's costing as far as that carbon offset?
It's definitely increasing in, let's call it popularity, right? So now you're getting RFPs, RFIs, and so forth. And where there used to be maybe one or two questions around environmental aspects, now you're getting full on, requests for information around what you're doing to be socially responsible, environmentally friendly, and so forth. So it's absolutely increasing in popularity, and its application as well. Again, having visibility into the footprint and having visibility into how you can reduce, that's two items, but really there's a third leg. And how do you get back to zero, right? Neutral, right? And that's where some of the offsets would come, right? And I think that, there's still a lot of people that, let's call it, have one toe in the water, so to speak, just jumping in with a cannonball, right? I'm still trying to figure out what is the best path for the organization, because inevitably it will be a different path depending on your industry vertical and where you're at in your journey.
No, that makes a lot of sense with the industry vertical too. It's a good point. Now, as you're, I would assume that you need a lot of data to get the appropriate results within this, the visibility, production, optimization, the BPO. Like how are people channeling that in? Is it just coming from TMSs? Is it ERPs? What does that look like? Because data can come from everywhere now, and if and from everywhere from Matthew McConaughey talking about it with AI and Salesforce. But as far as we've always lived it within the technological aspect of logistics within the TMS world, where is that data being pushed in for you guys to really get great data and great? I don't know about, because it's not always making the choices for you, but seeing the options for your clients and customers.
Yeah, so I had a great question. So for us, a significant tip of the hat from my end to our technical folks they've done a great job with our data warehouse. And again, if you think about our multi-brand operating strategy, normalizing that data into an ingestible format, right? Obviously, that was a significant lift. So they've done a terrific job, our Mode Global data team, normalizing that information. We've now enhanced the VPO and the data sets we get from a couple external parties. And most notably, right, the recent great news on our partnership with you guys on the Banyan side is that LTL and parcel detail. So for us, right, that's really the next evolution of VPO. So as we stand today, it's a real direct comp of the intermodal versus OTR business. What is the logical evolution from a domestic optimization network is to add in the LTL and parcel details, which we're working very closely, right, internally on. And we're going to enhance that strategy through the partnership with Banyan, which again, obviously with us joining you today, we view you guys as a best-in-class firm. So we're very excited about that genesis.
Well, thank you. I'll give you the $20 on Venmo after here. But no, but within that, and as you put more of the LTL and parcel into it, so are you telling me within here, I might be able to make a selection that, hey, I should move these 5 parcel shipments as either 5 individual, 1 LTL, or I should throw it on a train here, or in fact, I might want to wait 2 days and stack it with the full truckload? Is that what it's telling you right now?
That's exactly it, Patrick.
So it's kind of the pre-automated decision. We're seeing the logic and the visibility of the decision before that load consolidation, that magical thing that doesn't quite exist in a completely automatic, I just put the data in, I don't do any thinking, and it does the results for me. But right now, you're telling me that I could have all that in front of me and I could select, hey, this is telling me that this is going to be the best, whether from a cost, transit, or even a carbon emissions process.
Absolutely. It's bringing the options to your awareness, right? And again, in a way that you can act upon what you're seeing, right? So again, being able to take off or to add in parcel and LTL only supports the optimization capabilities from a truckload to rail perspective, right? And so now, yes, we're bringing the visibility there. So does it make sense for you to send this straight through? Does it make sense for you to hold it a day and now you've taken 2 parcels and made an LTL? Or you've taken an LTL and combined it and now you've got a volume LTL? Right. So again, and all of these obviously have a positive impact from an emissions output perspective as well. So
and possibly costs. And yeah, as long as you can wait to hold on to it and put it together, then yeah, the transit time may not be important. No. And I also love the fact that, like I said, with a lot of my clients are mostly LTL, maybe truckload, and then maybe some parcel depending on it. But the fact that they could all of a sudden see a rail option right next to it, because I'm telling you that half of them haven't even thought to look at it. So yeah,
and that's back to your earlier question, Patrick. I think that's one of the most eye-opening things, at least from a customer experience we've seen. Like, oh, we've always, and it's one of those things like in supply chain period. Like, well, why are you doing it this way? Well, we've always done it that way. That isn't,
and then you got to slap that person right away and be like, that's not an answer. No.
But again, like if you can take the power of data and then visualize it, where to Chase's comments, it's actionable. That is a terrific genesis, right? Data for data's sake doesn't make it much of a difference. But if you can visualize it, see it, understand the impact from transit, cost, CO2 offset, all of these great things, it allows, right, the beneficial cargo owner to make better and more informed decisions for their supply chain in a live environment, which is a win in this day and age.
That's the goal, right? At the end of the day, it's the goal. And I think too, one of the powerful aspects or maybe even benefits of what we're talking about here with this VPO tool, plus the benefits from it, is that you're getting to a point where you don't have to be the person that's been in freight for 30 years and have that tribal anecdotal knowledge of, oh, if it's coming from this location, I use these guys and I go this mode and that's the way to do it now. Because as we're seeing, and I think where a lot of the pain is and what we've seen, not only does everyone want to integrate with their ERP and kind of take, I don't want to say human error out of it, but we're seeing people come into this industry as new employees, new hires, and then people that have known and exactly why they've made these decisions leave, retire, or at least starting to make their way towards that. How do you replace these people with 30 years and they just know where and how it should move? So right. I think that the VPO tool has to be one of those benefits is, hey, you don't have to know it all. Here's a tool that can put it in front of you and you can start to figure that out.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, you hear those kind of stories all the time, right? Where tribal knowledge exits the business, right? And now you're tasked with bringing someone in who doesn't have that access to that tribal knowledge anymore. So again, yeah, the tool makes it very simple to make what has historically been very complex decisions much easier, much quicker. And again, it's defendable, right? Because you're using data to rationalize the decision.
I love
It's
the
not a
defendable.
guess. It's
Yeah.
not a guess anymore, right? And again, you don't have to bring in 30 years of experience in either of those modes or any of those modes, right? Again, it brings it all together for you. And again, you can rationalize the decision against the data that exists to make the best and most informed decision based off of, as Gene coined it earlier, the commitment to the promise, right?
And I think within that, we kind of have this thing where we're talking about blurred lines within the data coming down there, and not just the Robin Thicke song. You know what where this data merges and it's coming in. I can't help myself. You know, I see these agendas come through, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not a stand-up comedian, but I got to make my jokes where I can. But like,
gotta shoot.
so with that, like, why are they blurred? Is it just because we could move it so many different ways with this data? Or is it because within any shipment, it could be touching 2 or 3 places? Talk to me about what that means, even just from the nomenclature standpoint. Where is the data blurring? How do we clarify and pull it apart so we can see it clearly? Or is it all going to stay blurred and that's okay?
So again, in my belief, VPO is a platform gives you the opportunity to get out of the gray and get into a more black and white decision-making process.
Okay.
Right? And you know, Pat, from my perspective, you know, I think when we talk about the interaction of VPO, whether that be our strategic partners from the rail side, from the OTR side, LTL side, from our strategic technology partners, and last but certainly not least, the beneficial cargo owners, which we all support. For me, you know, it really is growing better together. Right. So how does this tool, as a great IT platform, lead to better conversations from a partnership perspective, from a management of supply chain and total? So to your question on gray, again, while there is development required on the LTL piece, which we're excited about, when we think about just the OTR and intermodal today, it really gives you that ability to have great conversations with your partner network as well as your customer network around, right, those words. Growing better together. And that's, again, my belief on VPO and the value to the marketplace.
And that's something that I hear within these podcast talks time and time again. The amount of data, the amount of technology is never going to take you away from the need for partner and network development. Where all of these tools and data come in, it's to help you where you should be looking to maybe grow your network, or where you should be looking to get your pencil sharpened on a few lanes here, or maybe diversify your carrier pool. So that kind of fits in with not just what you guys are saying, but with a lot of different people that I've talked to within the industry, looking at it from a bunch of different ways. And I wonder if that's why technology has taken such a long time to really grab the ship, because it seems like, you know, me coming into the world maybe only about 3-5 years ago, we seem to be shipping, logistics, all of that freight, the redheaded stepchild of technology. It was like somebody gave us EDI like 25 years ago and just said, get some spreadsheets, here's your EDI, you'll be fine. And up until a certain point, no one really did anything else until probably about, 10 years ago. And then if it wasn't for COVID, I don't know that we'd have this giant smash towards we need the automation, we need the integration, we need all this decision making. And I think that because of it's also it's what networks, it's who's going to take care of you. Maybe that took away from where that technology piece in other industries got rooted so much faster. Do you guys have any thoughts on that, or am I just rambling?
No,
speaking to the blurred lines. I mean, that's kind of part of it, right? So we've been slow to adopt new technologies that, let's say, other industries were very quick to adopt because the application was significant, right? And so we understand now that the emerging technologies and their application on our business are significant. But again, how significant is it, right? Because the cost to acquire the type of technology is not always within reach for people, right? And so
that's fair.
Back to the relationship side of the business, right? Transportation is a relationship business, and VPO in its very nature is meant to support the relationship, right? It's meant to make things easier, again, quicker to decision, and so forth, right? And then when you consider technology and how, let's say, carriers are using that now to change their pricing strategies, right? Thinking dynamic pricing as an example,
Mhm.
right? From an LTL perspective. That is something that has been catching a little bit more momentum here over the last few years, and you're starting to see more and more interest in that area.
It
And
disappeared during COVID for some reason. No idea why, right?
I
Yeah,
can imagine
yeah,
why, but
mystical that evaporated.
yeah. But again, again, in the spirit of the blurred lines, I mean, that is also something that, creates a little bit of a challenge. I mean, especially as people try to fill that out, is that best for their supply chain or not? There's clearly a benefit for the carriers in that regard, right? Because they're matching price with cost, and we need them to make money because we need them to be around, right? If you look back to over the last 20 years, or really even back to the 1980s, post deregulation, right? The industry's only consolidated. There are less and less options from a capacity standpoint now than there has ever been. And that, because of the barriers of entry being so high, it's so incredibly unlikely that that's going to change, right? You're going to see some consolidation amongst existing players, but for you to see a new entrant into the space, it's so unlikely, right?
Say big industry, small pool of names is where you see that time and time again. Or it's a big industry, but it's a small pool. Everybody seems to know everybody, and yeah, like you said, it would be crazy to me if all of a sudden even with the yellow situation, if a new LTL carrier out of nowhere came up and actually started getting market shares by itself, just because for what you explained. That's interesting. Yeah, no, I sometimes I think about it. Sometimes you get down in the day to day, but that's one of the things that I think within your guys' aspect, with the ability to see some of these options that weren't available before, especially to some of our clients that just lived LTL and only a little bit ago started looking at, hey, maybe I should be moving a truckload, maybe I should be moving a parcel, and now seeing that wider range, because once you give one additional option, then you're saying, well, what else? Like you've just given me, you've taken the menu from one, it's just the same sandwich every day, but now you're telling me I can get a burger or I can get a wrap, and maybe down the road I can get a full steak. Wait, what else you got hidden back there in the kitchen? What's going on? And why haven't you told me about this earlier? So
I also think that there's a lot of tech undertaking / initiatives, let's call it over the last 10 to 15 years, that have come in like a lion and left like a mouse, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we think about all the buzz around, right, blockchain. And blockchain, right, in principle was a terrific idea, but the application to the logistics space, right, there was a lot of dollars spent and chased to make that be successful, right? And from that perspective, it didn't turn the corner that people expected, right? And that's where, back to mode, right? So, I mean, we're a 3PL, but I offer on top of that 3PL, we're a tech-enabled firm that has managed transportation and 4PL capabilities,
sure.
Right? We know what our core business is, but we've also seen, right, some of the challenges where competitors in our space have been pot committed to be technology logistics firms, and right, we've seen some of the over the last 18 months, there's been very hard times for a lot of people with that model. So again, when you think about the technology piece, in my view, you can't put every egg in that basket, right? It's got to be the relationship piece that Chase has spoken about, that high touch customer service environment. But when you look at it, right, to increase the efficiency curve is really where our focus is from a technology strategy. So how do we make our people that are, right, support our customers more effective, more efficient on the day to day, so they have more time to have intimate and real conversations with the customer instead of just, right, a seat, right, someone sitting at a desk grinding through. We want to be in lockstep with our customers and our strategic partners. And the two words that resonate around that are value creation. Value for the employees and the individuals, so they understand what the vision is for Mode Global. Value for our beneficial cargo owners, right, so they have a best-in-class supply chain experience. And last but certainly not least, value for our strategic partnerships, right? We want to make sure we're fulfilling commitments and, right, having great conversations with them. So, again, I think one of the prohibitors to technological adoption is some of the things that have occurred over the last decade.
And some of the things you're talking about, like, it makes a lot of sense. I know from the Banyan side, well before I got here, a decision was made. We were going to stop having somebody in a tech space or development think of what the newest best thing that the industry wants. We're going to go to our clients who live in the industry, and you're going to tell us what we should actually be working towards. Because if, like you said, if you go tech for tech's sake, it doesn't always translate to effective new processes or actually getting sticky or getting traction within the industry. So I think that's a really key point there. And some of the other aspects that you brought up really sounds like you have a holistic approach to kind of maybe not just the industry as a whole, but also to handling your clients. So what else other than something like the VPO tool are you using to really handle everything that might get thrown at you? Not from like a, hey, you guys have taken care of my intermodal for so well. Here's everything else I'm doing. Show me what you can do with that. Or what does that look like? How does that process go? And why is Mode so good at it?
Yeah. So I mean, again, my opinion, Pat, is this. Mode, we are not beholden to one specific client vertical. We have a very, very healthy spread across multiple vertical segments. And from that, right, when we bring on a new customer or we have an existing, right, long-standing customer, we really want to understand from them the VOC conversation or voice of the customer conversation. Like, what can we do to be better for you? How can we assist? What are your existing pain points? And then turn, right, my philosophy is turn a challenge into an opportunity, right? So, hey, we're having X, Y, and Z delivery challenges at this site. What can you do to improve performance there, right? At the end of the day, when we think about the match of price and service, and Chase has been probably in too many meetings with me on the customer side where I've said this, like, I can put $1 in the spreadsheet. That's terrific. That doesn't mean the freight will ever move, right? So what is the appropriate combination of price and service? We want to, right, while transportation in and of itself is a quote unquote commodity, we want to change that commoditized value into, right, a long-standing partnership and relationship value as opposed to just chasing the rate of the day.
And there it is, relationship over everything and understanding. And I loved your VOC. I don't know if that's an internal term you guys have. I haven't heard the voice of the customer conversation before, but I love that, and I may steal it. So it'll at least be on my calendar for certain meetings I have, which might be a little bit of discovery and might be a bit of event session for somebody. Either way, it's a really nice way to put that.
That'll be another 20 there, Patrick.
Yeah, I've been accused of the word salad thing a few times, Patrick. I've also been told to go watch Wapner doing my best Rain Man. So mea culpa if I get a couple other three letter acronyms out.
No, it's okay. All of my clients, no matter how long their name is, end up with a 3-letter acronym because that's, again, same way in my brain as I'm kind of going through it. It's like, this is the fastest way, and I can find where it needs to. Plus, let's be honest, everybody has freight and transportation in their name. So if you just went off the name, it all starts with an F or a T, or it's all in there anyways. So it's nice to get some unique combination of letters sometimes to diversify.
You are more than welcome to steal VOC whenever you'd like.
Well, I'm going to do that. So it sounds exceptional what you guys are doing with the data as far as what you're able to put in front of your clients and customers. And like I said, extremely excited about, as Banyan continues to put, as you called it, more of that gray data in with the LTL and more of the focus on the parcel and LTL. So there's an even broader picture of where and how things could move, both from, like we said, pricing, time of transport, and from a carbon emission standpoint. And I always like, because, people, whoever, all 7.5 people listening or watching to me regularly, I get to talk to them and they have to listen to me. Well, I guess they could pause or delete it anytime they want. But this is where I like to offer it on top of what we've just talked about here, both Gene and Chase, and from either your individual perspective or Mode as a whole. Here's a little bit of my soapbox to you. What's your message either to your clients, to the industry, or, like I said, all 12 people? It keeps going up every time I come up with a number. So,
well, for us, and the message that we've been trying to get out to our customers and our strategic partners, and very similar to the topics that we've discussed today, and specifically as it relates to a holistic approach, right? So again, with all of the blurred lines that exist, and with all the different pieces of technology, and all of the various aspects that can make transportation more difficult than it needs to be, taking that holistic approach. Not just saying, okay, look, here's Mode and they do a great job on my intermodal business, but I'm taking the truckload or the LTL or parcel somewhere else. Sure. Ultimately, that that lends itself some challenges, right? And so when you can take a partner like us, right, as an example, and we can really peel back the proverbial onion for all of those modes, that's really how you unlock the capabilities and the strategies that we're discussing today with respect to VPO, right? So it's a top-down approach, and then really we're solving against the challenges. We're not producing solutions for the sake of having something to do. As you heard Gene, joking earlier, right? We're not really sitting around just waiting for an email to come through, right? We're having
what a life.
Intimate conversations, right? Intimate conversations with our customers around the challenges that exist for them today, understanding that today's challenge is not tomorrow's challenge, right? And so
right.
we're trying to be thought leaders. We are thought leaders, and we're trying to be proactive with not only how we deliver our solutions, but how we cater those solutions in a customized way to support the business needs at hand, right? And again, how we do that by industry vertical, by customer, what have you, it varies a little bit, but there are consistent themes in there, right? And again, speaking to the spirit of VPO, visibility was a challenge, predictability was a challenge, and optimization was, let's call it what it is, an untapped area of opportunity for many. Right.
Sure.
And really, that's the message we're trying to get out is, we're not saying you have to put all your eggs in one basket, but if you're not having these types of conversations around how you can optimize your supply chain to better meet the ever-changing demands of your customer, give us a call, right? Let's have a conversation around that. At the end of the day, we're here again because we want to have a relationship with you in a way that supports the business. And again, this is a relationship business, right? We expect to see these people for a long time, and we want that to be a moment of embrace and knowing that you have a partner out there that you can rely upon. And again, if the shoe doesn't always fit, right? But in the instances it does, we want to capitalize on that. And when it doesn't, we want to make sure that we give our best effort from a consultative standpoint to make sure we can get you going in a direction that ultimately lends the output that you're looking for, right?
Gene, I can see why you bring Chase in so many of your meetings. It's a good call.
It is a good call. I'll give you another way to look at this, right? And I'm going to give you the old Teddy Roosevelt.
All right.
Complaining in the absence of proposing a solution is called whining, right? And from that perspective,
that's a great line.
But that really is one of the things, from my side of the business, that's really ingrained in us. Like, hey, here's a problem. Let's figure out a solution for our customers. Let's figure out a solution for our partners. Let's figure out a tech solution that supports both our partners and our customers. Mm-hmm. So from that perspective, again, it really resonates. And I don't want to sound like a broken record, but growing better together is the important piece from my end, right? So we are a solution firm, right? We're ready to take on anything that is posed in front of us. And right, knock on wood, I'm going to toot my own horn. We've done it to great effect. We've created a lot of viable solutions for our customers, new, long-standing, whatever the case may be. And that's something that excites me, the Mode Global Enterprise. And again, my belief, Pat, we wouldn't be talking about this today without the relationship with Brian and Ed. So, very, very excited about that solution-driven mindset.
No, and I
just to add to that there,
go
Patrick,
ahead, Chase.
Kind of bring it back around. Again, right, we're here to provide solutions, right? But at the end of the day, we're here to have fun and enjoy this as well, right? At the end of the day, we're working with people who want to.
When do I schedule the fun in? When is the fun scheduled in, Chase? Is that sometime between the third or fourth meeting, or is that somewhere around the 11th? I need to know.
When that Venmo hits, I'll let you know, and we'll see what happens.
No, and you're 100% right, because one of the things I love about this industry is almost everyone you talk to in freight is really a straight shooter. And generally they're like, yeah, well, we want to get this done so we can get on with the rest of our lives, whatever that problem may be, or maybe if it's not, get that done and get on to the next one. And then eventually get moving into what might be the weekend, or, getting home to the family. And I think that the tools that you guys are presenting are making that easier to do with less time crunching the numbers. And I'll say that, kind of as a little bit of an outro here, it sounds like Mode's got the statement that it doesn't matter how much data you have, it's really what you do with that data and what actionable items you can have in front of you as far as process choices. And the more timely they are, the more real time they are, the better that is. And the more options you have, the better of a process and the better decisions and defendable decisions that you're going to be able to make with either if you're the guy who's been doing freight for 30 years, or you just got on the job last year and you're trying to figure out how to do this the best way you possibly can.
Sure.
So yeah, and I want to thank you guys very much for having this conversation with me. I learned a lot. Again, I look forward to the partnership with Mode and seeing more of the VPO and where it goes from here. Because like you said, we're just starting to keep adding more items to the menu here. It sounds like at a certain point, we might be a 5-star restaurant where we can get just about everything from all day breakfast to to a milkshake with my steak too. So I thank you guys for the time. I know I've got to see the tool. I know that I'm sure we'll have a webinar here soon where we show that off with the visualization of it too. But in the meantime, anybody listening who has more questions, whether you're a Banyan client or whether you're a Mode client or whether you're somebody that hasn't touched either of them, reach out to anyone at the Banyan Mode side and be happy to talk to you about it. But for everybody else, thank you for listening. It's been another episode of Banyan's Tire Track Podcast. And Gene, Chase, thank you so much for joining me. And can't wait to see what else we'll do together.
Pat, thank you very much for the time. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Hey, thanks, guys. Now time for the fun part, right? That's right. Send the Venmos, and then we get the fun.
That's it. Thank you for the partnership.
Bye, guys. Appreciate it so much, guys. Have a great one.
Bye-bye.
See you.
Bye.